How drunk can you be and still fly an airplane? Here's everything you need to know to make sure you're safe to fly. Let go! Boom! The world of aviation has an acronym or checklist for everything. And determining whether or not you're safe to fly or not is no exception. There's an acronym for this too. And the acronym that you want to be aware of is I'm safe. I-M-S-A-F-E. And we're going to go through each one of those letters, what they mean, put some add-ons in there, some other little details that you want to know about them, just to make sure that you're really safe. And you want to run through this mental checklist each and every time before you fly. And you don't want to wait until you get to the airport to make this decision. You want to run through this checklist while you at the crib. Before you even plan your flight, while you still at the crib, you want to run through this mental checklist just to make sure that you're in the right mental space and that you're ready to fly the aircraft. Let's run that thing. Let's go. A, the first letter in the I'm safe checklist stands for illness. And you want to make sure that you're not feeling sick in any sort of way and you're 100% healthy when you're getting ready to fly. This can be a tricky one because when we talk about illness, don't just think about someone being severely ill. Obviously, you don't want to fly in that situation. But it can be something as simple as a basic cold. And that can cause you problems if you attempt to fly in certain conditions. Think about it. When you're at altitude and you're going up and down and changing altitudes, a lot can be going on with your sinuses, with your allergies. And if you're already experiencing the basic symptoms of a cold, that can cause you problems, particularly when it comes to your ears being clogged, not being able to clear properly, and your sinuses and everything else that can be happening. And not only can it damage you permanently in terms of your physical nature in your body, it can cause your decision making to be off. Just think about when you're starting to feel a little bit ill, you feel a cold coming on, how you don't think a little bit as clearly as you would when you're not feeling that way, how your decision making is a little bit off, how you're trying to bring yourself back together and pull yourself back together, and it's a little bit challenging and difficult. And when it comes to illness, we also know that we all face illness differences. Some of us can turn into big crybabies when we just have the basic cold. Hey, be honest with yourself. What kind of person are you? Make sure that you always are in the proper position mentally and that you're not facing any kind of significant illness before getting into the aircraft, and that if you are having the basic common cold coming on, try to let that pass before you get into the air. The aircraft isn't going anywhere. The sky isn't going anywhere. All these opportunities to fly are going to be there for you, so there's no reason for you to push yourself over the limit. If you're not feeling well, don't even head to the airport. Just live to fly another day. Boom! On to the M in the I'm safe acronym. And the M stands for, of course, medication. And here's some details about this one as well. It's not just what you may be thinking about, prescription medication. So you may be thinking to yourself, hey, I'm good. I'm not on any prescription medication. I'm clear. But it's not just that. Even the over-the-counter medication can impair your judgment. Simple things like Benadryl, Dayquil, NyQuil, things that many of us have taken in common situations can impair your judgment, and it's not a good idea for you to do, and you should not fly after taking that stuff. It can make you very fatigue. It can, in some cases, it can make you drowsy. It can impair your judgment when it comes to particularly any kind of emergency situation. So you always want to be aware of this. Don't think that just because I'm not on any type of prescribed medication that I'm good. You want to make sure that you haven't been on anything over the counter that can impair your judgment as well. The FAA has a list of medications that they do not want you to take if you're planning on flying. Make sure you check that list each and every time. If you're taking something for any particular reason, you want to make sure you're always being as safe as possible. There are even medications that will kind of disallow you from even getting a medical. So you can't even get your medical clearance if you're on some of these medications, much less go out and fly after you already have your license. So don't just think that just because this is something simple, it's over the counter, it's very common, everyone takes it, that you're good. Always verify and check those lists. In aviation, there's always an acronym, there's always some sort of checklist. So make sure you check that list and that you're good with your medication. Boom! Moving on to the S in the I'm safe acronym, and that stands for stress. The key about stress is it's hard to quantify. Much like the other ones we just discussed. You know whether or not you're feeling ill or whether or not a cold is coming on and you have symptoms. You know whether or not you're on medication. It's either yes or no. But when it comes to stress, a lot of times we have a tendency as human beings to not be able to quantify the kind of stress levels that we may be under. You may be thinking to yourself, oh, this is normal stress. I deal with this all the time. But you don't want to be under any kind of situation in the air and have to deal with an emergency or any kind of situation like that, and that stress overwhelms you because you were already dealing with stress before you even went flying. So you need to be the best judge of your own stress levels. This is all a major part of being pilot in command. When you're pilot in command, it's not just about swinging and banging that thing. That's the fun part, baby, and doing all that cool stuff. But the real pilot in command is also to your decision making. That's what that leadership mindset is all about, baby. That decision making and being able to make the decision and judging honestly your stress levels and where they are before you decide to fly. Don't let anything that's in your personal or professional life or anything that you got going on trickle into that cockpit and cause you to be overly stressed, because then now your life is on the line, and make sure you land that airplane safely, not only with you, but any passengers that may be with you. Stay safe. A in the I'm safe acronym stands for alcohol. The regulations state simply 8 hours from bottle to throttle. Bars, that simply means you shouldn't drink within 8 hours of flying. But it's really much deeper than that. And the reason being, our bodies process alcohol differently. You've ever experienced this if you've ever been to any kind of party, you and your friends go out, you do your thing, y'all going shot for shot. It's on up in that thing. It's litty, baby. We doing what we do. Bang, bang, bang. Now the game. Y'all up in that thing. Then you wake up the next day, and what simply happens, even though y'all consume the exact same amount of alcohol, your friend wakes up and they're fine, bouncing around, but you got a headache, you feeling, you can't think clearly, you still hungover, even though you consume the same exact amount of alcohol, and it's the same amount of time later, the next day and in the morning, you feel like nothing while your friend feels great. This happens all the time. It's because our bodies process alcohol differently. And that's something you need to be aware of when it comes to just a simple 8 hours bottle to throttle. Don't just follow that. That's the bare minimum you should be doing, but also understand how your body processes alcohol. You may need to possibly extend that to 12 hours, to 24 hours before you fly, making sure you're not drinking. So that way you know it for a fact. Nothing will be impaired, and you're always in the good when it comes to that. And just to think about this when it comes to the detection of it, for a car, the limit is what? 0.08. To fly, it's 0.04. So that's like nothing. Look. You already got it. You're already there. So be safe, make wise decisions, and plan accordingly. A. Boom! And the F is for, of course, fatigue. You never want to be severely fatigued when flying, because obviously that can impair your judgment, particularly in an emergency situation. Just think about any day that you have on your job or at work. You usually do your best work in the mornings or right when soon as you get there, because that's when you're fresh. That's when your decision making is good. That's when you can concentrate on things best. You're nice and fresh. But what happens if you were to just work, say, a double shift? Multiple hours beyond, you become more and more fatigued. The decision making starts to wane off a little bit, and you're not as focused, and you don't concentrate as well. Same thing with flying. This is why you don't want to be severely fatigued when you're going up to fly. Again, judging that stress. These aren't as easily quantifiable as some of the others on this list. This is where the pilot and command comes into play. You want to make sure you're in command of your decision making at all times, and that you're not going to go up when you're overly stressed, and you're not going to go up when you're overly fatigued. Hey, boom! And finally, the E in the I'm safe acronym stands for eating and drinking. You definitely want to make sure that you are hydrated at all times. Think about this. The brain is 75% water. So even if you're semi-dehydrated, that's less brain function that you have. Your brain is not firing as efficiently as it possibly could. That can impair your judgment. That can impair your decision making. And then on top of that, you're going up the altitude as well. So all this plays a role on your body. Always try to stay as fit as possible. Flying is very tiring on your body. So you always want to make sure you're eating and taking care of yourself at all times, even when you're not flying. So when you do get up into the air, you're going to reap all the benefits of your hard work, of taking care of yourself, of staying well conditioned and shredded in that thing. Hey, don't forget to like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. I am Donovan Batiste. Hey, this is Leadership Mindset. Big Whoa, a place where you can come for free, fun videos to tell you everything that you need to know for you to become a pilot, because I want you to feel what we all feel when we swinging and banging that thing. Hey, love you one time. Subscribe to the channel.